G'day, I'm Rob Malicki. Welcome to A Life That Travels, and today down in Canberra with Craig Robertson, who is the CEO of TAFE Directors Australia. Craig, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Well, let me tell you a little bit about TAFE Directors Australia.
That would be awesome.
We represent all TAFEs around Australia, and there's about 24 of those TAFEs, individual TAFEs. But some of them are really big, like in New South Wales there is one TAFE called TAFE New South Wales.
Yeah.
In Victoria there are some individual ones. There are also TAFEs that are part of a university, and so you can get a pathway from a TAFE into a university degree.
Nice. Yeah, and so what is it that TAFE does exactly? What's that kind of educational option for a student who's at high school, finishing up, thinking about what to do next? Yeah. What's TAFE all about?
So what I'd be saying, if you're a student who maybe doesn't like to hit the books, but really wants to do something practical, really wants to be seen to be achieving something through what they're learning, then TAFE is the pathway for you. And what I mean by that is you learn in a very practical way, what we would call an applied approach. And so what that means is that often you're not only looking at books, but you're looking at how you can apply skills in a very practical situation. Sometimes that'll be in a laboratory situation or in a simulated hospital ward, for example. Equally, you could be in a workplace. We could send you out to a workplace so you can get an experience about actually doing those skills practically. It doesn't mean that you're dumb in doing an approach like that. Really what it means is you want to be able to do it and then learn the theory that goes along with it that makes you really ready to hit the workforce once you've completed your qualification.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I think a lot of people, you know, uni really gets pushed at people as like, oh, you finished school, you really need to go to university next, but there's pretty incredible pathways, aren't there, for people to go into TAFE and then onto other things?
Well and truly. A lot of people will think of TAFE as getting a trade, an apprentice in building and carpentry and the like, and that's a strong part of the TAFE offering, but there's a whole range of other areas in health, in business, in community services, in a whole range of areas. And what you're really learning is an approach to get you ready to go into the workplace. And what it does mean is you can get into work a lot quicker than, say, a 3 or 4 year degree. And interestingly, a lot of the data is starting to show that you're starting to, in the workforce quicker, and you can catch up in terms of what you would earn compared to somebody who had come out of university. The other thing that often happens is it gives you a taste for learning through TAFE, and then often you go into work, and then you go, now I'm interested in doing something at university. So it's really a parts of building your approach to building your credentials to make you a really skilled worker across your working life.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've heard the same story, and I've been interviewing students all around Australia now on university campuses, but then also people who are just out there working. And that's certainly something that I've heard is that, you know, often when you finish high school or you're young, you don't know what you're going to do. So the best thing you can do in some instances is just go out and try different things.
That's right.
Get some work experience, and then come back to that kind of formal.
Correct.
University studies, formalised education, theoretical education later.
One of the things that happens in the vet sector in Australia is a thing called traineeships, and that's where you are studying or you're training at the same time as you're working. And the amount of stories I hear of those young people who said, this got me on a learning journey, and then they end up going to university and the like, having really had an employer to say, well, I've got a bit of trust in you, I'm going to train you at the same time as you are working. Just sets them on their pathway. Because there's a lot of people who maybe school wasn't the right thing for them, it wasn't really a good experience for them, maybe they didn't like the exams or all that sort of stuff. TAFE has a bit more of an accessible educational model. We'll accept all learners who'll come in, and you'll get a program that suits your particular needs. But it doesn't mean that we dumb down the course, it means we'll accept where you are and help you move along. Often they call it scaffolding in the educational sense.
Nice. So obviously, like really practical in the terms that you can get work experience whilst you're doing
Correct.
this kind of formal study component, what other sorts of things can people build in around the TAFE experience?
So, are you meaning in terms of overseas?
Yeah, whether it's overseas experience.
Well, the other thing that'll happen in the TAFE world is they'll keep abreast, because they've closely connected to their local industry. They'll keep abreast to what's going on in the world of work. So, for example, here at this institute, at the Canberra Institute of Technology, just last week, they opened a cyber security centre, and that's where you're going to get leading edge training for the cyber security industry, which of course is a growing industry right across Australia and the world. So you get that leading edge experience. You actually get connections with local employers, and often you can then pick up work as a result of that connection. But of course, what also happens with a number of our qualifications, Australia is fairly well regarded around the world, and so you can pick up work around the world as well. You can often pick up work experience around the world as well. So, for example, some students, say for example at Box Hill Institute in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, their fashion students every year will go through Europe during the fashion show season, and to really see what is the leading edge practice. Now, fashion is one of them. There'll be loads of other industries where those students will head off overseas and get that experience or that exposure to be able to see, wow, the world is my oyster through my training that I can get at a TAFE.
That's pretty cool, because I guess it gives you options whether you know you want to stay locally and just work literally in the suburb where you grew up. Right through. So we were having a chat just before we got on camera. I was telling you about a friend of mine who's become a very senior manager for Marriott Hotel Group, who's now worked all over the world.
Yes.
And you literally have this kind of global career, so it sounds like there's something in there for...
well and truly. And a student a worker that I met earlier on this year was a pastry chef. She now works for a leading global brand on bread making. And she spent her life travelling around the world. So, and it's because they've got that practical skill, that practical knowledge, that these companies are looking for that.
Awesome. So where do people go to find out more about TAFE options?
That's a really good question.
TAFEs,
yeah,
right?
There are a lot of TAFEs. Probably the best starting point from an Australian viewpoint is a site called MySkills. But it'll have TAFEs, but some other private colleges in there as well. But if you've got a TAFE near you, because that's the whole idea of a TAFE, is to have a campus somewhere nearby, just look up their website and they'll always list all of the courses that they've got on offer, where those courses are, and that's probably the best starting point for you.
Nice. Actually, that gives me another thought, which was, I think once again, when you're young or you're looking to develop a career somewhere, being able to test and try different things is really important. And I've heard a lot about, like, my brother teaches an evening class.
Yes.
For a TAFE. So what's that side of TAFE about?
So what'll happen is most students in a TAFE setting are working, and so they need to be able to have classes at an accessible time for them. So that's where a lot of the classes at night come into play.
Right.
But the other thing that occurs is the requirement in TAFEs is that you have somebody with current industry practice as your teacher. So you get the best of both worlds when you come into a TAFE, because you're getting a qualified trainer, but somebody who's really skilled and knowledgeable about their industry. And so you get that exposure as well. And what you might find happen is you might say, I'm starting here in this TAFE course. Actually it's not for me. And then because TAFE is so big, with so many offerings, you can then switch over to another industry area. And through TAFE, you can pretty well be assured that you'll find the pathway into the career that's really going to suit your aspirations.
Awesome. Sounds like a great option.
It is a great option.
Great to chat, Craig.
Come to TAFE.
Thanks for your time. If you're looking for like examples of people who've kind of been through TAFE and everything, jump on lifethattravels.com, go to the careers section, because I've spoken to quite a few people now who have come through TAFE and either then gone on to uni or, created these kind of interesting careers here, there and everywhere. So a really good option.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks
Good on
for your
you.
time, Craig.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good on you.